prophecy says that 3 people shall come together, that the voices of 3 generations shall be brought together, and together they shall be the chosen ones. That their voices will ring forth throughout the generations, that their voices will bring forth throughout the generations, and they shall bring the truth, the wisdom, the wonder that is Star Wars. And where does this take place? It takes place on a planet called Mortis.
Da, da, da.
Friends, my name is Matthew. I am the father, or the parent. I am joined by the son, the evil one, Alex Corman. I'm joined by the son, the evil one, Alex. I'm joined by the good one, the daughter of purity and light, who's going to stab us all in the back. Today we have the Mortis 3. We are here to talk to you about the Mortis Arc, and I'm just waiting for one of the two of them to interrupt me so I can stop these shenanigans and start actually.
Oh, I thought it was kind of a nice monologue, but since you clearly needed to be interrupted.
Well,
I haven't seen these episodes in a minute. It was really fun to watch them again.
Yeah.
I rewatch these episodes regularly. Just
I'm
these
sure
episodes.
You do. Yeah.
Let me start. We're going to talk about these episodes. For those who don't remember them, this is... I don't even know how to explain these episodes because they're so fundamental to the plot of a lot of Star Wars, and yet most of the rest of Star Wars completely forgets they exist. But here's the basis of it. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka get called away to go to a strange planet, a strange area that hasn't been heard of, using a Jedi code not used for thousands of years. They get there, they find out that they're also supposed to meet Rex and his Star Destroyer, but there's a weird signal thing where they're not seeing each other. They're kind of brought into this other world where it's just very rich in the Force, and they meet 3 Force beings who name themselves the father, who kind of represents balance, the daughter, who is kind of like a glowing, the closest thing I've seen to an anime character or a JRPG character in Star Wars, and she represents the light side, and then the son, who looks an awful lot like what the Grand Inquisitor will look like, and that race of people that we also saw in Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Tall, like red streaks on a very bald head, and he sort of represents the dark side, but he's also falling to the dark side over the course of these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We learn that the father is dying, and the father wants to test Anakin to find out if he truly is the chosen one, and if he is, he wants Anakin to replace him and hold balance in the Force by keeping the son and the daughter kind of in balance with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin refuses to do this. The son realizes that this guy could be a threat to him, and he kind of goes nuts. Lots of shenanigans happen. The daughter dies, saving the father from the son because the son is kind of goes on a nutty. The son wants to escape and take the dark side to be much worse. Tempts Anakin, shows Anakin his future and what he will be. Anakin doesn't want that and wants to stop the son. And by the end of it, the father and the son have both died. All 3 of these Force beings are dead, and Anakin's memory of his time as that he's going to become Darth Vader has been taken away from him so that he can just face his destiny without knowing what it's going to be. And we have confirmed that he is the chosen one. I didn't feel like that made much sense as I talked about it, but I think that's kind of a good summary. Does that make sense?
I'd say that's a good summary.
Yeah, the only thing I would alter is I don't think the son sees Anakin as a threat as so much as his ticket off the planet, or off whatever you would call Mortis.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he originally just in the son realizes that if the father dies, then he can have more control and power.
Sure, yeah.
If Anakin takes the father's place, then he'll be a threat.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, he tries to do the same. Anakin, you and I can rule the galaxy together. We'll overthrow the Empire. The Emperor will bring peace and balance and all that.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So these episodes are, to me, unique and unlike anything else in Star Wars. Like Matthew said, it sets up a lot of stuff that will come in the future. But they're archetypes, basically. And I mean, the son representing the dark side, it's not only just the evil of the dark side, but it's all the insecurities, all of the fear, all the confusion and anxiety, I think, that wraps up into one character and shows you see a lot of that complexity that you sometimes see in Anakin's character and other Sith, and you kind of put them all together, you can see, a broken person that creates, the son and a lust for power, and the daughter is this pure virtuous individual who like supposed to represent the good, but like her downfall is she's too trusting and she's too sure of herself, which is why the Jedi fell. And the father, being quote unquote, kind of like the balancer in the middle of all this, is also way too passive, similar to the Jedi. And I think, represents this idea of like, if you're really trying to strike this perfect balance and through passivity, then it's all going to come apart. Like you have to, like, you can't just hope and wait that something's going to happen. You have to like be more proactive. And the proactive plan of let me kidnap a Jedi and make him take my place was not the best plan the father could have thought of.
No, it was not.
So let me back up a bit.
Sorry.
No. That's exactly what I wanted. And now I just want to kind of frame this in a larger discussion because I admit I come into this episode with a lot of questions. What is your understanding of the Chosen One prophecy?
Before or after this episode?
In general, what do you understand that it means?
I mean, the prophecy states that the Chosen One, supposedly Anakin, will bring balance to the Force. And it's not really clear how that's supposed to happen, but as far as the Jedi are concerned, it means destroy the Sith.
Right.
I don't know if that's really what that really means. I don't know how the scale being 100% light and 0% dark equals balance, but
it doesn't. That's probably why that's not where the prophecy led us.
You're correct.
The way I always saw the prophecy, because there was never a time in my life that I didn't know Anakin was Darth Vader and that I didn't know he turned back to the light. Like, I just saw all of it when I was so young. So to me, it's like, people are always like, oh, like, the prophecy is supposed to bring balance to the Force. I'm sat here like, okay, so he killed the Emperor and then, like, he died and then there's only, like, one Jedi left. Technically, that's more balance to the Force.
Right.
We're kind of back to neutral, except then, of course, in later media, it's not neutral and there's many other survivors and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But as a kid, I was always like, I mean, technically, he kind of balanced it because he took out the big players.
Yeah, so it's part of why I start with it because I've always been very confused by it, and frankly, I think it is something that Star Wars hasn't really properly resolved, and I find it somewhat frustrating. And there's a moment in watching these episodes where I think they're actually resolving it, and then they kind of go away from it. Well, I'll get to that, but I want to just frame it to begin with. Because, yeah, I've heard two different theories. First of all, I kind of had a thinking kind of like what you were thinking, Aaron, especially when what understanding was that there are two Sith, Vader and the Emperor, and only two Jedi, Obi-Wan and
Yoda.
Luke, or kind of Yoda and Luke, because then Obi-Wan dies, or whatever it is. So it's kind of like, okay, so that is sort of balanced. Like there's 2 and 2, or there were 2 and 2 after Order 66, and then Luke comes along and throws the balance off. I don't know. And so I've always wondered, yeah, like what does it mean to have the Sith? If the Sith are fully destroyed, is that balance, or is that the light side going too much? And there is another way of looking at it, as I understand it, that I don't think has ever been brought into the canon, but was very much a part of a lot of the Legends books, particularly Darth Plagueis. And when this show was written, those were still considered canon. And its argument is that there's always been a light side and there's always been a dark side, but that the dark side often the light side wants to work with the Force, the dark side wants to take control of the Force and manipulate it and change it. And that particularly Palpatine and Plagueis had been very good at that, and that's what they started that led to all of these problems. And so that in theory, by killing the Emperor and wiping out this version of the Sith, that in that way we're going to bring balance to the Force. And
yeah,
I feel like these episodes kind of fit both of those theories depending on how you look at them. And I love them, and I think they're so good, but they bring up for me all this frustration of, I don't know what the damn prophecy is actually supposed to mean, and I don't know if it came true or not.
True.
Especially since Palpatine does come back. Like, what does that mean for the prophecy?
This is a deeper philosophical conversation. I'm just going to have my quick point to respond to that. I think is that in my mind, the way that the Star Wars canon rectifies the prophecy being fulfilled is that the way it was. I read this somewhere that basically, like, the Sith constantly destroy each other, and when Rey eventually defeats Palpatine, everyone can have their opinions on Rey and Palpatine and all these things in Episode 9, but Palpatine's own lightning is simply redirected back towards him, and so he eventually basically destroys himself, and so that breaks the cycle of the Sith, and thus prevents, like, I don't know, prevents his spirit from continuing the way that they were describing in Episode 9. I feel like that's a whole discussion for another episode, but I would like to talk about that in the future because I've read a lot of weird theories about, like, the breaking of the Sith cycle and how that supposedly created more balance, but there's too much to get into.
Yeah. But again, that's not then Anakin being the chosen one.
No, I mean, I think for the sake of these 3 episodes, we kind of have to buy into the premise of Anakin is the chosen one in regards to, like, he will bring balance by, like you said, like defeating Palpatine. At least at this point, there's no episode 7, 8, 9. There's only episode 6, and so the Star Wars canon we have at this time is Palpatine is killed by Anakin, also destroying himself, eventually destroying all of the Sith in the process. So based on the knowledge we had at the time, he fits the narrative of the chosen one.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's changed since more content has come out. We can discuss that for sure. But I think when the episodes came out, the intent was Anakin does eventually bring balance to the Force by eliminating the Sith, and then Luke remains as sort of this, Jedi, but not the Jedi of old, truly just a Jedi of his own making, who kind of can, like, forge this new path of balance.
Kind of like
a gray Jedi almost.
Yeah.
See, and that's where I find these episodes so interesting, because a lot of these episodes, I don't watch them every year, and I feel like every time because of that, I've forgotten them, and I start to get hopeful that I think I know what they're doing, and then they don't do it. Because particularly if you just watch the first 2 episodes, where I really thought they were going was to say, actually, when he is the chosen one, what that means is he is chosen to come to this place and take the Father's place and hold the balance between those two. He doesn't, and the prophecy is now broken. And now everything else that happens, the prophecy is over.
Oh, fascinating.
Something else.
I didn't consider it that way.
That's very interesting.
I feel like that would make much more sense, especially because I agree with you that everything that we've learned, and it is from Jedi, is this idea of balance will happen when there is no more Sith. But in these episodes, the son is clearly much more the antagonist, but the daughter's not great either. Like, the daughter's just as willing to kill the friends to help make sure Anakin does the thing he's supposed to do. And at one point they talk about how the daughter, the son is pure selfishness, and the daughter is pure selflessness. And that's also not the best sometimes. Like, that can be very self-destructive and very harmful, as people from Minnesota especially should be very well aware of. And the genderizing of it is particularly interesting in that regard as well. So they kind of talk about how when one side of the two becomes too powerful, that's bad for the whole universe. So yeah, I'm struck by, it feels like the writers are going in 2 different directions. Of, on the one hand, they want these episodes are kind of proposing a different kind of a balance, of the true balance between light side and dark. But then actually the dark side is defeated because the son wasn't really on the dark side. He's going towards the dark side. And I just get confused.
I have 2 thoughts on what you just said, Matthew. The first one, I think, is something we have not considered yet in this all of this interpretation is, what if Anakin did fulfill the prophecy? He did bring balance, but the balance was just short-lived. Like, who's to say that, like, Rey has brought quote unquote balance, but there could be other Sith lurking in the galaxy that could break that balance again. And, like, I think that, like, there's this constant cycle of imbalance that occurs, because I think balance is an impossible goal that the Jedi have, like, sought after. Right. But perhaps for a moment, Anakin did bring balance, even if it was only 20 years or short-lived, whatever it might have been. I don't know if that's really a strong interpretation or not. But something else we didn't really consider is the fact that, like, these three beings die, sure, they do, but like we see their power rekindled in Rebels with the use of the portal to enter the world between worlds. We see statues at the end of the Ahsoka season 1 that like lends us to believe that like we might get reintroduced to these characters in some way. So like I think there's more to learn about them than we even have right now.
Mhm.
Like our interpretation right now could be completely changed after Ahsoka season 2 comes out. Wherever Balin's skull ends up going, following the father's statue's pointing finger.
Yeah.
I just like that this is expanded so much. We haven't even actually talked about what happens in the episodes yet.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite parts of the episodes are just everything having to do with Ahsoka and the daughter.
Which
If
we'll
I
get to
had
too.
all the money in the world,
Bruh.
I would cosplay the daughter. And I would wear her all the time.
I was trying to think about how you'd get that glowing effect, because if you
I don't
could, you'd be
know.
that long green wig.
She
that,
glows.
like-
She's got this beautiful green hair that just floats, this cape that just floats behind her, and the most badass deep cut neckline. Like, oh my God. And it's crazy because she's sexy, but not too much for a kid's show. But also she's so powerful. Like there's
Yes.
something about her outfit that kind of feels like armor also.
Yeah, I mean,
And I've always just like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, it has that deep cut, but you're not like seeing like it's showing a lot while not feeling revealing in any kind of objectification-y way.
Yeah, there's not like cleavage going on, but it's
Right.
like we all understand where a woman's boobs are.
Right. Yeah, but you're not seeing lots of side boob and weird shots. And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
no, unlike me.
You could have the little, what is her bird's name again?
Morai?
Morai. Yeah, you could have Morai be like a little lantern on your shoulder, and that could emit some light.
That would be cute.
Um,
Again, money.
True.
don't have
True.
Another thing, while we're on me, in these episodes, both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka have these like Force dreams, and Obi-Wan, he sees Qui-Gon come to him and say like,
Right.
oh, like, you trained him, Anakin, blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll find out he's really the chosen one. And Obi-Wan's like, what if he's not? And Qui-Gon's like, then you got a big fucking problem because he's really powerful and you have to do something about it. Because if he's not going to bring balance, that's not good.
Just to clarify for our listeners, there's a moment where they're in a cave and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka both have Force visions, but it's not clear whether it's in their head or Obi-Wan's actually talking to Qui-Gon.
Yeah. I thought I had said that, but
Well,
yeah,
okay,
they're Force
sorry.
visions. No, it's okay. So yeah.
Well, because I just don't know. Like, do you think that he was talking to Qui-Gon for real, or do you think it was like in his head? Because I think that like makes a difference in this interpretation.
It makes a big difference. I do think that was Qui-Gon
I do
because
too.
they say at the start of the episode how this planet is steeped in the Force and everything is just like this planet is basically the word we don't know yet, but we'll know from the Acolyte. It's a vergence in the Force. Like it is this place that is just steeped in power, and if you draw on it, you can do whatever the fuck you want, really.
Right.
And so I think it's very believable that Qui-Gon figured out how to communicate with Obi-Wan on this planet where he has so much more strength through the Force. And then it took him another 20 years to figure it out on the deserts of Tatooine. That's completely reasonable to me.
Mm-hmm.
The other forced vision that we see, or Force vision, is, you know what? Fuck off. Ahsoka sees herself in the future as a Jedi Knight. And when I saw this, y'all, I'm sorry, Rebels is cool. That's the true adult Ahsoka. I don't care.
Aaron wants the giant Liku.
Because it's what makes sense for the species. It's how the species works.
It does.
Go shorter. No,
Would it be practical for all the movement?
No, I don't care.
Would it be practical?
But it's what it looks like. It's what Shakti looks like.
And how often do we see Shakti fight?
Kind of a lot in the Clone Wars,
Guys,
actually.
don't make me turn this podcast around.
You know what?
Aaron, I'm on your side here. I'm on your side. I just think we can wrap this up. But I do agree.
I would cosplay that too. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I think you could do. I think you could do it. I want to see you with Leku down to the ground. I will help crowdsource, crowdfund you getting Leku down to the ground. I'm all for it.
But to your point on that, Aaron, it's what Ahsoka says to herself, which is interesting to me, in that like she basically like, there's a wildness to you, like your master has like sowed basically the seeds of the dark side in you, and you have to be careful. And I mean, you see Ahsoka, battle demons, and you have to wonder when she makes the choice to leave the Jedi Order if that vision had not like haunted her for a long time, because she chose to reject the Jedi Order. And like if she had stayed in the Order when Anakin turned, who knows what Ahsoka would have done? Who knows what could have turned out, and how different the events of the galaxy would have been if Ahsoka Tano was not on the side of the rebellion when push came to shove.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up though some, because I'm not sure I accept the premise you two were working with.
Oh.
Because
Which premise?
I kind of have another idea about how maybe all this prophecy stuff may be, which is that, as we said, the Jedi are doing their best to interpret the prophecy. And I think we're kind of coming from a place of, but the Father, the daughter, the Son, they know the real truth. I don't know if they do. I wonder if they're still just as full of shit as everybody else. But where I'm going with that is because we know that you talked about how Ahsoka and Obi-Wan have these Force visions. We didn't talk about a third person who has visions. Anakin has visions of his mother. Now, what we learn is that those are like Force hallucinations or whatever being controlled by the Son.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that the ones that Ahsoka and Obi-Wan are seeing aren't also being controlled to some extent by the father and the daughter.
So my interpretation of Anakin's vision in that instance was always that it wasn't actually a Force vision at all. It was just the Son straight up like changing his form.
Yeah, me too.
To be his mother and try and like lure him in, which is why to me, I don't know, like, when they're in the cave, like we never see the daughter or the father like in that space with them. So I always assume that like it was a vision. Again, either it was actually Qui-Gon himself or Obi-Wan's own insecurities attacking himself. That's how I interpreted it, at least.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I would say I interpreted it similarly. That like the Son, when he directly was in the room with Anakin, he could like show him the future, or he could like have this like fake hallucination. And the thing that like really brings me to that conclusion is that what future Ahsoka and what Qui-Gon say is the truth, and they're right.
Right.
And I don't know that the father and the daughter knew that or thought that.
Well,
I think, like you kind of said, they're a little bit in their own shit. They're kind of in their own head about like, well, this is what happens on our planet and this is what matters. Like, obviously, Anakin needs to come here and like help these people. So we're going to like pull some strings. But then why would they be like, oh, you need to take Anakin away from here, or oh, you need to like run away from him? That just doesn't line up in my head. So that's how I've rationalized it.
I mean, Master Yoda does say always in motion the future is.
Very true.
It can be changing.
I also, though, just think, I mean, the Son does know the future. The Son knows not only a vague, like, Anakin will fall to the dark side, but, like, he shows Anakin visions of, like, him choking Padme. And
in the wrong dress, mind you.
In the wrong dress. The Death Star blows up.
Killing Shak Ti, killing the younglings.
But the Death Star laser is the wrong color. Like, yeah, so it's all, like, somewhat visions. But I noticed these things. But yeah, so the Son does know a lot of that stuff. But no, I think you're probably right. I think they probably are Force visions, and I think they are. It is probably Qui-Gon.
I think Qui-Gon is for sure. There's a chance that Ahsoka's Force vision could have been the Son or something like that. Someone trying to drive her away from Anakin. I'll give you a little leeway on that.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, all I was going to say was just in this paradigm, we have to remember, y'all, that like this entire trio of episodes starts with Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka coming upon this like, diamond in the middle of space. They can't find Rex, and then it ends with them all waking up from a sleep next to Rex's ship, and this diamond is gone. So there's always the paradigm of like, was this whole entire fucking thing a Force vision? Like, how much of this was actually happening? Like, it's just, I think the whole point of the Mortis Arc is that like you're supposed to question everything you see and everything that happens on the planet in the episodes. Like, there's enough evidence to prove that, like, in future content that like Mortis exists to some degree, but like how much is happening in their head, how much is an actual Force vision, how much is Qui-Gon reaching across, how much is the sun manipulating. I feel like it's kind of up to the individual to interpret.
Yeah. I feel like one thing that I had forgotten until I rewatched them today, I thought the entire experience was wiped from all of their minds. I forgot that it was just the future wiped from Anakin's.
See, and that's the weird part, because to me, like, I was just thinking about that same thing, because they
Yeah.
only say they wipe it from his memory. But then the fact that he never talks about it with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, it never comes up again, feels very weird to me. Feels very like, why are they not studying more? What in the world happened that it felt like this was only a half second, but it also felt like multiple days to them?
Yeah.
In some ways, I kind of wish they had said that all three of them don't remember any of it. Because if
Mhm.
nothing else, Obi-Wan doesn't suddenly get a lot more careful about Anakin the way Qui-Gon
Yeah.
told him to.
There's no follow through.
The one connection, though, is that, and Aaron, I'm going to defer to you on this because I think you know it far better than either of the two of us, but my understanding is that the one real lasting effect we get is that, for those who haven't seen it, at one point, Ahsoka is almost killed, and she's dying, and the daughter is also dying. And that to sustain Ahsoka's life, the last thing the daughter does is give part of her life essence to Ahsoka. And that to some extent, Ahsoka then becomes a living a living embodiment of the light side of the Force, in part expressed through the fact that the owl that was so connected to the daughter keeps showing up with Ahsoka in Rebels and things like that going forward.
Did we even see the owl in these episodes?
Well,
Because I think the owl is just connected to the daughter because they have the same coloring. And it's thought that the owl is some sort of
Okay.
reincarnation of the daughter. I don't think Morai is in these episodes.
well, because Ahsoka does say to Ezra and Rebels that like Morai saved my life once, or like say like so like
Mhm.
in-
Right.
with the I think that is the assumption you're like what Aaron's saying is that Morai is indeed like whatever essence of the daughter's kind of left is
Right.
is in that owl, but it also went into Ahsoka. That's what made her come back to life.
Yeah.
Well, my only point being, so that to me that speaks against the idea that it's just a Force vision, because that's a lasting repercussion
Yeah.
of this
Sure.
that happens.
That makes sense.
But you're right, there is nothing like that for Anakin or for Ahsoka or for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can we for a second? I just want to like acknowledge that like the actual planet itself is fascinating to me, just because like
Oh, yeah.
it
Mhm.
every day, like during the day, things grow and grow and grow, and then they slowly die as night falls, and the planet's basically toxic at night, and you have
Mhm.
to be like indoors or in a cave or something to escape that. And I mean, as far as I've always interpreted, it is quite literally like one of the biggest versions of the Force that exists in the entire galaxy, up there with like that Force priestess planet that Yoda went to at the end of Clone Wars. Like,
Mhm.
just a true versions of like all power. The fact that the freaking planet itself lives and dies, and then I guess fades away when all of the when the three Mortis gods die at the end.
Right.
Mhm.
Does anyone remember what's the name of the planet in Acolyte?
No.
I can Google it while you talk.
I know it's not Mortis
Well, yeah, I know that.
because I would have noticed that.
Well, did you? A fun fact is that they at the original script for episode 9 was going to end with Rey and Kylo having a battle on Mortis, but they scrapped it.
I'm kind of glad they did because they'd have to fill in a lot of blanks.
No, it
to
was really
make
interesting.
make
I read the
sense.
script. It made sense. I swear.
Okay.
But would it make sense to someone who hadn't seen the Clone Wars?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably why
Let's
they
go a
didn't
little-
do that.
Let's go a little deeper on Ahsoka, though, because we get the awesome vision of Ahsoka as a Jedi Knight, which I loved. Leku everywhere. We get her having this important moment with the daughter, but there's also a period of time where Ahsoka falls under the influence of the sun.
Mhm.
And I think, as often happens, there's a level of her being possessed, like it is not her, but it is like she speaks resentments towards Anakin that I think are really there. They're just being greatly exaggerated and blown up, the way often happens with this kind of possession. What was your take on that? Especially, like, to me, to me, there's like some real truth in the way she pushes back, and it's like, I hate when you call me Snips, and I'm now going to teach you. Aaron, especially for you as a big Ahsoka fan, what was that like seeing that?
That episode, just like, I feel like it was a game changer for me. I just like the idea that people could be possessed in Star Wars, and the fact that she was dead. I also, anytime that Ahsoka almost dies, I would say to myself, I'm done with this fucking show. If she dies, I'm done with this fucking show. I'm not watching it anymore.
That's fair.
Because fuck it. And when she left the Order, stopped watching it for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also because the show ended. But yeah, it's very interesting. I think especially the Snips thing is grounded in truth. Like I think she kind of does hate that because it is demeaning. And yeah, it might have been cute and loving, you know, when she still called him Sky Guy and she's wearing a tube top as a 12-year-old, which is still fucked up, but yeah. But now in like this is shortly after we've been shown the physical change of her from like an adolescent to more of a teenager, young adult. And that's like something a lot of people always ask me if I'm ever going to cosplay like the Mortis Ahsoka, like the one that gets possessed.
Right.
And I think no, and not because the makeup is too hard or anything like that. Like I've done a Sith Ahsoka before. I just don't look like a teenager. Like I don't have the body proportions of a teenager. So there's no reason. I just think I would look odd as that version of Ahsoka. But it always stuck in my mind. And they, looking back on it, they give her a very femme fatale, almost sexualized image, which is a little weird, but I also like eat it up because I just love Ahsoka. And like she does, you know, like the head tilts and like stuff like that, and just like high class demonic possession.
There's like one shot of her from the back where you don't see much, but you see like whatever her leg guard thing she has is thigh high, and there's like a little bit of her in between that and like whatever like kind of shorts she's wearing, and I was like, that's an interesting detail to throw in there.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of odd. But I liked that Anakin didn't give up on her, obviously, because she's my favorite character. But in hindsight, that's probably exactly why he does fall to the dark side, because he doesn't give up on people when physically there's nothing you can do, like stop someone from dying. Anakin.
Well, and to me, it really speaks to, I don't mean to keep ragging on Anakin, but continuing a conversation we had last time about that he doesn't give up on people, but he still wants to hold on to his idea of people, because they specifically say they're making Anakin forget about his visions of the future, not his understanding of what happened. And she says, I hate when you call me Snips. And we see him when she's back, one of the first things he says is, welcome back, Snips. And at first I was like, that's silly. And then I realized, no, actually that's brilliant writing, because again, it's showing like he loves her. He cares for her. In his mind, she is little Snips, the 12-year-old in the tube top, and he's not going to let go of her, but he's also not going to let go of that image of her. He's not going to allow her to grow out of that. And that just felt very telling about him.
Yeah, I think that's a very true interpretation.
I also think it was funny that Anakin like wanted to protect Ahsoka, but like Ahsoka knew how to push his buttons during the fight.
Oh, she got him so
like,
good.
She was like, basically like you could see when he got mad. She was like challenging him and being like, clearly I'm better than you, bro. And he was like, get ahead of yourself there, Snips, aren't you? And then he gets really serious.
Yeah. But it's still, she was holding her own with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Oh yeah, I mean Ahsoka's fucking badass.
I don't ever want to hear she's not a good swordsman.
I think that like her being possessed in the way that like it is portrayed kind of validates some of what I was saying earlier about like the son being this embodiment of the dark side. I mean, I think a lot of times, I know, I'm not saying that like either of you or us talk about it this way, but I think that the dark side is sometimes misinterpreted as just evil, pure evil. And sure, like Palpatine's low-key pure evil, but like the dark side in general is very muddled. It's very like you see Anakin and Kylo and even Dooku and Maul in a way, like they are corrupted because of insecurities, because of fear, because of resentment, just small emotions that sit in the back of a person's mind that are then stoked by the right individual and leads to hateful acts. And I mean, I think that's what makes it so the dark side and the original idea of the concept of the dark side so relatable, because like all people have You know, there's no one in this world that doesn't have like some level of resentment or frustration or anger or some kind of negative feelings that they harbor. And it's about like learning to control them, accept them, work through them in a positive way and in a productive way. And we see obviously like that doesn't happen for certain people, but I think that like the son represents all of those things. And like when he bites into Ahsoka, when he shows Anakin that force vision, when he's, you know, at the bottom of the volcano, it's stoking all of those fears. It's Anakin's fear of failure, of letting down his friends, of destroying everything he loves. It's Ahsoka's insecurities and resentments towards Anakin and towards her own growth. And it's stoking those things in an accelerated way. And to me, it shows how the dark side works in a very quick way, which I think is part of the genius of the son's character. Because I never really saw the son as like a scary figure, but more as a tragic, like a child, basically, like a really angry teenager, an upset, resentful teenager who then has to live with his mistake of killing his own sister. And like in his rage, he was trying to like, you know, rebel, and he thought he was doing what was right, and then ends up destroying what's most precious to him, which is always what happens when you act out on your anger and your rage. We see it happen with Anakin and pretty much everyone who falls to the dark side. But it's just really interesting to me that like the archetypes of the dark side were so well represented in this arc in only 3 episodes.
That's interesting because I do not feel that way about the son.
Well,
I mean, I think it just makes our like age difference kind of clear of like, I mean, you're only like 4 years older than me, maybe 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like just that difference in developmental level, like to me, like the son is evil, the daughter is good, the father is just like the in between. He's just like the guy that's there.
I just feel like there's so much more depth to all of them.
I agree now as an adult.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as a kid, I'm sure I just thought like, yeah, bad, good, middle. But like as an adult, I'm like interpreting it as such a nuanced, like, that's why I love this episode much, because there is so much nuance to the daughter, the son, and the father.
Well, and it's part of why I like the fact that the son keeps laughing every time Anakin assumes that this is like the granddaddy of the Sith, you know? And I think, because to me, it's one of the things that I love so much about Last Jedi, that I love about some of the books, and that I think these episodes also speak to, is that the idea, people equate the Jedi are the light side and the Sith are the dark side, and that is not true. As you said, every member of the Sith had some like probably good in them at some point and got consumed by anger and rage and resentment and all that. And also, lots of members of the Jedi have fallen to the dark side in some ways. The line, only the Sith speak in absolutes, itself being an absolute, I've always thought is very intentional, of like, you know, the Sith have driven the Jedi into some dark side thinking and stuff like that. And yeah, so I totally get where you're coming from there. And I think that, well, let me actually do this, because there's another topic I want to discuss, but I think perfectly grows out of this in terms of the dark side. Anakin's plot line, before he becomes like totally wrapped up with the son, with the father, they bring up something that has never been discussed before, but that I think is so relevant to his character, which is his guilt over the slaughter of the Tuskens after the death of his mother. And he has these visions of his mother, and he is both guilty that he couldn't save her. He says at one point that his experience is, I failed you, and I failed the Jedi, because he knows that what he did to the Tuskens was wrong. And I think this is the first time we've seen him acknowledge it, and I think it's the last as well, at least outside of books or things like that. And the father keeps trying to tell him, you've got to let go of your guilt in order to take my place. What did you think of that and all of how that played out?
I mean, I think in life, that's generally a good lesson. Like, if you just let your guilt guide you, you're not going to get very far, and all your decisions are going to be guided by that. And while I don't think that's the only problem Anakin had, I do think, like, if he truly felt guilty, how he portrayed in this episode, and that just stuck with him constantly. And then you put on top of this, like, not only is this the lowest moment of my life, but the person I love the most saw it. And saw everything. And, like, I can't imagine that guilt in a rational mind. So, and maybe if he had let go of that guilt, something could have been different. I don't know. But definitely we see, like, his emotion, his love for his mother, the hate for the Tuskens, the guilt over the whole situation really comes into play when it comes to his fall to the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Anakin's guilt is the biggest driving factor. Not the biggest, one of the biggest driving factors to his fall to the dark side, and like something that Palpatine plays off of is Anakin feels guilty for the Tuskens. He feels guilty for letting his mother die. He feels guilty for leaving his mother in the first place. Like all of it, and like this guilt turns to that resentment and that anger. And being forced to face it, you see that he can't. Like Aaron said, he fails to actually deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think that like something that my therapist has said to me all the time is like resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Yeah.
And like the guilt that Anakin feels here, I mean, what he did was horrible, and there's nothing he can do to change what he did. But in an outside scope, if we didn't know what Anakin's fate was at this point, he has an opportunity as a Jedi to do a ton of good and to atone for his mistakes and try and live a better life. Like one mistake didn't have to necessarily define him, even though Loki, it was kind of just like a mini genocide he committed. But like,
I don't think you can put mini in front of the word genocide.
well, I mean, like, he killed one tribe, I guess. So not a genocide. I don't know how do you define a genocide?
It was a senseless slaughter of a group of people.
Okay, there you go. Senseless slaughter of yeah. So either way, like he could have atoned to some level for that and lived with that and like moved forward with his life, but he chose to let it, eat at him and destroy him and led to, far more pain and hurt people.
Wow.
I think
Thank you. I'll be here all
You
week.
should get a therapy license for that one.
I know.
I think you're both right, and at risk of further upsetting the therapy critic, I'm also going to quote my therapist but this is also a concept I think you're hearing a lot, especially in activist circles and the like, that like guilt is useful if it leads to something, if it leads to accountability, if it leads to changed behavior in the future. But that guilt can also wind up being a way of like, oh, I hurt those other people and I feel bad about it. So it's still a way of like focusing on your own feelings instead of the feelings of those around you and like the damage that you caused and how do I deal with that damage that I caused. And yeah, so I really like your interpretation there, Alex, of like it's part of what drives him, because it's the guilt means you have to try and do it better next time. So I couldn't save my mother, so I have to save my wife and my child. And also it's I am focused on myself and my own feelings about this instead of coming to peace with it. So yeah, I can try and do better in the future.
See, y'all have really insightful stuff from your therapist. My therapist just always says, please don't fire me for this.
Oh my God.
And that's something I really don't want to hear.
Yeah. But you haven't fired them yet, right? So like they're
correct. She's still around.
I do want to also support the idea we can fire our therapists. Let's all remember that.
We
like,
can. And let's
my
also
God.
take this moment. We're all in therapy. Yay, us guys. Therapy is
Go
good.
team.
Therapy is cool. No matter your age, no matter your gender, it's helpful.
It is. Yay therapy.
I have to run soon, but I want to bring up one more thing before I go, and just the test.
I want you to feel safe. You can walk. You don't need to run.
The test that the father puts forward, to me, I think was very detrimental to Anakin, because Anakin always kind of assumed he was a chosen one. Like people had told him that, but like I think this gave him like confirmation, almost like a green light of like he now knows he's the chosen one. Like he was able to tame and use his power to tame the father of a son and the daughter. And like it also shows that like he would do anything to save the people he loves. But beyond that, he saves Obi-Wan and Ahsoka and does not stop. You see him after he gets them released. He doesn't stop. He pulls them both in, makes them collapse to their knees in submission to him, which again I think shows Anakin's like inability to like the quote unquote battle has been won. He's proven his point. He saved his friends. There's no need to like further embarrass and make these people submit to your will. But he just always takes it too far.
Yeah, it's an act of dominance instead of an act of protection.
Yes.
In that moment.
A need to dominate, and now he knows. I mean, like, think about it. If you're Anakin with all his issues, would it not go to your head that you just made two omnipotent gods bow to your will? Wasn't good for his psyche.
I mean, yeah, that'd go to my head probably.
I would agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, these are fun episodes. They leave a lot of questions, though. I'm both so enjoying the episodes and I'm so frustrated by them. But I do think I like that it's open ended. I like that it leaves a lot of these conversations. I wish that more of Star Wars had picked up on these things, and I am really excited that the next season of Ahsoka might do so.
Yeah.
Which is
Hopefully.
not. When is that coming out? Is that coming out later this year or early next year?
I'm assuming next year, but I truly don't know.
I
So
think it's next year.
Okay. I know we're getting a couple of like small things this year. The Lego.
We're getting
Star Wars-
Visions season 3.
We're getting Visions, and we're getting the next Lego Star Wars project,
I gotta love that.
which
Uh,
Ashley
let's-
Eckstein is coming back to do the voice of Ahsoka for.
All it says is Ahsoka season 2 will come out around 2026. Whatever the fuck that means.
I mean, they often drop things in late December that then cross over into next year.
I mean, I would guess because we're getting the Mando movie in spring of next year, we might not get Ahsoka until fall of next year.
Yeah.
yeah,
maybe.
that makes sense.
If we still have a country.
Well.
Okay, now.
Come over to my superhero ethics podcast if you want to talk about that. Star Wars, as we know, is totally separate from the real world and real world issues, so we don't have to worry about
Totally separate.
that. I'm kidding, of course.
But yes, Mortis is it's probably my favorite arc in all of the Clone Wars, outside of like the very, very final arc.
Yep.
It is just I love Star Wars when it gets weird like this and mystical and talks about weird parts of the Force. Like that's what my favorite part about Rebels is. My favorite part of a lot of Star Wars is. That's why I liked Episode 9 as much as I do. And Mortis started that obsession for me as a young lad. So I am always happy to chat about this. And if listeners have more thoughts or questions, please reach out because I will yap about this until I croak.
Nice. Aaron,
That's
what about you?
true. He will.
What's your final thoughts on this?
Just some crazy episodes. I feel like it's just something that's dropped in there and then never addressed, which is kind of wild. It just leaves me pretty confused in the long run. But I do really love the content. I love the character beasts we get. And of course, like the father, the daughter, and the son, like they're just such incredible. It's such an incredible concept. Like these overlords, I think they kind of called them. That's the name of the first episode is Overlords. Yeah, so love these episodes. I also love some of the banter we get with Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
The one where Anakin is flying a ship directly at a really, really big glowing tower. And Obi-Wan goes, holy shit, you're going to crash us, and takes control of the ship. And then the ship crashes. And Obi-Wan's like, I thought you didn't see it. And Anakin's like, it's a giant tower. Of course I saw it.
Yeah.
And I love it when they fight.
It's great. They banter. You
Yeah.
want them to just kiss, but they're never going to do that. So we got to.
They won't.
They'll kiss in our minds. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I like these episodes. I love mystery. I don't want answers to things. I'm not a fundamentalist. I think mystery needs to be a part of things like the Force. And so, while on the one hand, I'm frustrated that we don't know more about the prophecy, I also kind of like the idea that a lot of it's left in mystery. And I think if these episodes gave us more firm mysteries, I would be more frustrated. And I think I like that it leaves a lot of things open-ended, but it leaves them open-ended. And so it's fun to talk about them.
And one last super quick thing. I also want to say that I do love the fact that Mortis is now entered Rebels, is entering Ahsoka, and the fact that clearly Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin are not the only ones that have seen these gods or know about them, because there is a painting in an ancient temple. There is a carved statue on an ancient planet. So Mortis has more to do in the galaxy, and I hope they explore it, but not to the point where I get too many answers, like Matthew said. I want it to still remain mysterious and ethereal, but like letting us know that like it exists in the larger world and the galaxy is cool.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's what's most important. If someone wants to start a GoFundMe to create a daughter cosplay for Erin, please contact me. I will help solicit donations for that.
I mean, you can also just hop over to my Ko-Fi if you like the way I look. I do too. I like to do cosplays that are a little bit spicy on Ko-Fi. So 18 plus only, but the link is in my Instagram bio. Also, it's just Lady Tano Creates on Ko-Fi. Check it out. I just did Rogue. Yeah, I don't have an official cosplay of Rogue yet, but I do have her up on Ko-Fi. So
Nice.
check it out.
Now, I thought it was coffee, because it's Kofi, and I thought it was because it's like buy someone a cup of coffee.
I call it Ko-Fi.
Okay.
I have no idea. It's Kofi though.
So okay, Kofi.
Yeah.
No GoFundMe's. It's a great way to support, and that money might be used to buy a cosplayer coffee, or it might be used to make her skin glow from the inside out so she can cosplay the daughter. I don't know how to do that, but like,
You never
a
know.
little bit of plutonium can go a long way. So
Amen.
right?
Amen.
There are some cosplays you can never wear, and some cosplays you can only wear once.
With that, stay classy, Mortis.
He who surrenders hope surrenders life.
Of course, I saw the tower.
Oh my god. Okay, I gotta run.
Okay, bye.
Bye, friends.
You don't have to run. Walk.
Okay, bye.
Cool. Take care. Adios.